In this video, I'm going to break down the acquisition.com live workshop funnel where they get people to pay $5,000 up front, then fly down to Las Vegas where they have an in-person session. Now, real quick, if you're not familiar with acquisition.com, it was founded by Alex Hormozi, and last year they did $250 million in aggregate revenue. And recently they started pushing a live workshop very hard, and that got me thinking, what does their actual customer journey and workshop funnel look like? So that got me interested, and I decided to go through their entire funnel as if I was a prospect and document everything and break down the entire system from the point of watching their content to the point of going down the landing page and eventually jumping on a call with your team. Now, real quick, I'm Mazen Fazil, founder of GoFunnels, and we build back-end infrastructure and systems for businesses looking to scale. All right, let's get into the tactics. So I've actually mapped out the entire customer journey, and I want to quickly do a quick overview of that first before I then go through each section of the customer journey and break it down into detail. That way it's just easier for you to digest it. Now let's start at the beginning. So it's very important to understand the content engine. Everything Hormozi does is fed through his content engine. Okay, the goal of this is to get eyeballs, okay, to get people who will view everything that he has to offer, and then when he can get them to view it, he can get them to do something. Okay, so in this case, he has a very strong content engine where he's trying to build an authority flywheel, and he's doing two things with that content engine. He is building authority. So the first thing is authority, and the second thing is he is getting people to enter his lead magnet. So what do I mean by that? So if we look at this flow, when people watch his content on YouTube, X, Instagram, whatever it may be, a lot of the times he is sending them to his free lead magnet, which is his $100 million scaling roadmap, right? So he sends them here, and on the lead magnet, he's obviously getting people to opt in, right? They put their details, and for giving the details, they get the free resource. Now, what actually happens in the back end is they get emails captured, and they get entered into a nurture ecosystem. Okay, so this is where now he gives free value. He invites people to his workshop, but also what they're doing is they're tracking leads that engage with the email. Okay, so they're tracking the leads that engage and open multiple emails, and then they're segmenting those leads in the back end in the CRM, and then they're taking those leads that are highly engaging and they're exporting them into Meta or into Facebook as a lookalike audience, and that's why it comes back here. Right, that's why I said the content also funds the meta ads. So what's happening is it's like a two-pronged attack, right? So this is Hormozi, right? He's over here, and he's trying to attack people in both ways. The first way is to give them free content, right? This is mostly for people who either don't trust him yet, or it's like their first or second time watching a video, or they're getting, they're new into the world of business, or they want to start a business and haven't done it yet, and they need the tools, to get them started. Obviously, there'll be people who are, who do know what business is, and they just want something for free. But there's also going to be people who he can sell to directly through ads. So by doing the content engine, he's actually getting data like who are people that watch his audience, what countries are they from, what videos that performed the best, what were the topics of those videos that performed the best, right? The video that gets 1 million views, he's going to analyze what was the topic about. Was it about a certain thing? What was the pain point discussed in that video? And he can use that to build proper ad angles and then push ads out. So one of the ads, when I went through his ads, like the most common hook for his ad is the fact that you're probably a founder that is the bottleneck. We're going to show you how to break past that. So that was an ad that worked. So the whole point now is that all roads lead to the workshop landing page eventually. So whether they go through the lead magnet and then when they enter into the nurture ecosystem, they get pushed into their workshop, or someone sees an ad like me, you, or whoever else sees it from Instagram or from Facebook, they will then eventually go to the workshop because they see it. If they look at it, they click on it, they don't do anything, again, they enter re-engagement ads, and eventually they get pushed into the workshop. So what happens then is there's the workshop, there's the landing page, the funnel, right? People see it, they fill out the form, the qualification form, the form filters, and then it disqualifies or qualifies. If they're qualified, they can go ahead and schedule a call. If they're disqualified, they will then actually get added into a downsell funnel, okay, where they're down sold. He actually doesn't sell them anything on the downsell. He's giving them a free resource. okay, which we will go through again when I go through the actual downsell itself. Now, when they book in, they get added to the thank you page. Now, a thank you page, really, this is more of an indoctrination page, okay? So he's trying to indoctrinate. He's trying to indoctrinate. What does that mean? Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you watch all the videos you need to watch. Make sure you read everything you need to read, whatever it may be. Be ready when my SDR calls you or my closer calls you to try and get you to pay on the call. Okay, so basically get ready, be prepared for the call, make sure you show up for the call. Then there's the follow-up. So an SDR or the closer will actually message you on WhatsApp. That's their first touch point to make sure that you are ready and that you've watched the content. Then eventually when it's time for the call, you will have the call. They'll collect the purchase. Really what they're trying to do is the call here is more about get your credit card out, let's get this paid, and answering any other questions they may have. But all the indoctrination, everything you need to know really happens before the close. That's why this funnel ecosystem is very interesting, and the only reason it works the way it does is because he has built a very strong authority. So let's actually break through everything now in detail. So let's start with the content engine. So Hormozi's content engine is actually the invisible foundation of this entire funnel, right? He's got millions of followers across YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, all these different platforms. The goal is to generate authority. By having that authority, it allows him to have a very simple, honestly, setup and landing page infrastructure that is very highly converting. So what are some of the key insights I found when I went through this content engine? The first thing is the authority that is being pre-built. Like I told you, every person who lands on that workshop page already knows who Hormozi is, right? The landing page doesn't need to build trust from scratch. The content already did that job. There's dual traffic paths. Like I mentioned, he's targeting people across two ways: the free way, or if you want to just go at it, here you go. This is an ad to push leads directly into the workshop funnel. And then there's the price anchoring through free value. What I mean by that is he makes it very clear it's a 5K workshop, right? So whether you see it on the VSL, on the ad, or on the FAQs of the funnel, it's not like he's getting you to schedule a call and then on the call when you're on the closer, they're going to do the price drop. It's very clear that it's a 5K offer. And the reason people hear that and feel, you know what, that's actually quite reasonable is because his free content is better than most premium content out there. He gives away books, right? He gives away courses, frameworks, some paid, some for free, but even if they're paid, they're very, low priced, and you get a ton of value from them. So it basically leaves people thinking that if the free stuff is good, like imagine how good the quality stuff is actually going to be. So that's why it works. The content engine is the conversion lever that most people can't copy. I mean, Alex is pushing out 3,500 pieces of content a year. So how much content are you pushing out? If it's less than that, which it probably is, have you built enough authority to make it easier for you and your closers to close on the call rather than people arguing and wanting discounts or wanting payment splits? It all starts at the top of the funnel, and that is the content engine. All right, let's move on to the second page, which is the lead magnet. Now, the reason I want to start with the free stuff, the lead magnet, is because collecting the data they collect on the lead magnet is that actually what feeds their ads as well in terms of their lookalike audiences and who they're targeting to. So let's start with that. So with the lead magnet, let's break that in. And let's talk about the anatomy of a lead magnet first in terms of the structure. Now, one thing to understand very quickly about funnels is the first section, right? That hero section, as they call it, that's the most important section, right? Because that's the first thing people will see. 100% of leads will see the hero section. Less than 60 or 50% will see everything below that. So you want to make sure that the 100% that do see the hero section see something that they are, either they get the message, they get the offer, they understand, or they're willing to give you what you want them to give you. So in this case, he says, get you a free personalized 100 million scaling roadmap. By it being personalized, he's trying to explain this is something that is personalized, whether it's a template or not, and in under 30 seconds, right? So he's using less than 30 seconds as a way to do two things. The first thing is to get people to be like, oh, this is only a 30-second commitment. Let me just quickly fill this out. But also the second thing is he's telling people that they can actually access this roadmap within 30 seconds. Like that's how quickly you will get something that will truly be valuable to your business. All right, the second thing I want to talk about is his opt-in setup, right? So as you can see, he's done it in the way where it's just to add the name, first name, last name, and then press let's start. So as you can see, there's no like email, there's no contact number, blah, 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 blah. Reason he's doing that is to reduce the friction. When I come in and the only thing I see is first name, last name, and I see that it only takes me 30 seconds to get this, obviously I'm going to fill it out very quickly. When I click let's start, then it'll ask me for my email, because actually the most important thing here is the email. They want to collect your email. Another cool thing they've done here is they've added some sort of social proof, right? So requested by over 250,000 business owners. This does two things. The first thing is it's showing social proof. 250,000 people have done this already. The second thing is it's giving FOMO, like, oh my God, I'm late to the party. 250,000 people have done this. Like, they might be way ahead of me. You know, my competitors are way ahead of me. So that's what he's trying to do. So I can imagine this is probably a very high converting, well, I do know this is a very high converting funnel that provides a lot of leads for them. So yeah, the reason the landing page works is the job is not to sell the workshop at this level. It is to collect leads and emails to then eventually nurture them and push them and invite them to the workshop. All right, so a lead has been captured, right? They're taken hostage, they have your email. Now they're going to enter you into their nurture ecosystem where they warm you up and give you tons and tons and tons of amazing free value, which sounds amazing, right? So I actually entered into their ecosystem and mapped out what the timeline looks like in terms of the cadence and what the content is. So I actually mapped out the timeline of how they kind of deliver the content they do. So if you're looking at the timeline, once you enter the ecosystem, the nurture ecosystem, on day 0, you're getting the scaling roadmap delivered to you straight away. So that's immediate value. And then on an ongoing basis, they're sending their Hormozi Minute newsletters, framework drops, case studies, just different things. Now, what they're actually doing is they are seeing and they're tracking people who engage with their emails. So if you click on emails multiple times, you open it, in the backend in the CRM, they're going to segment you as a lead that is highly engaging. Leads that are highly engaging are in a different segment. They get different things sent to them. So periodically, those leads now will get workshop invitations. Now, those leads are also used for the retargeting for their ads, coming back to my point. So they take those leads, they pull those leads out, and then they put them in a meta as a lookalike audience, which helps feed the ads with better quality, or which helps push the ads to better quality leads that are more likely to then go to the landing pages. All right, so all roads lead to the workshop landing page. So this is where he is going to get people to schedule a call where then the closers can piff them or get them to pay the 5K upfront. Now, looking at the landing page itself, we can quickly break down landing page psychology. The first thing again is the hook or the hero section. Again, this is the most important section. Like I said, 100% of the people who visit this landing page will see this, but less than 50% may see what's below that. So over here, he's got a very interesting hook. So this is the hook. This is the subhook. He has a VSL over here, and then he has a short description to break down what exactly, or summarize what exactly the VSL is talking about or what the offer is. And then he has a CTA over here, a call to action. So in this case, it's I'm ready to scale. So people who click it, you know, yeah, I'm ready to scale. All right, very quickly, kind of breaking down the actual copy here, for the heading, he's put is, are you the thing limiting your business? Now, this is very interesting because what he's doing is he is targeting problem-aware founders. Okay, founders who know that they've reached a point where they are actually the bottleneck of the business and they need to take themselves out of the day-to-day operations and be running, working on the business, not in the business. So he's talking to those founders, and by seeing that, you're like, this is for me. Let me click on this just to see what he's talking about. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the VSL, and what I noticed was time manipulation. What I mean by that is the actual video player itself, like the little bar at the bottom of the video, it moved very quickly for 80% of the actual timeline. What I mean by that is from this point to like maybe this point, 80%, it moved very quickly, okay? Like almost instantly to the end. Not almost instantly, but like within a 1 minute time period, it moved to the end. Then it slowed down and became real time for the remaining 20%. Okay, so we got an 80-20 time manipulation over here. What we mean by that is two reasons. The first reason is he wants to hook you in retention. So the first one is retention, because if you look at this and see it's going very quickly, you're going to be like, oh, the video is almost over. Let me just kind of watch the video anyway and finish it since it's finishing. But what happens is once you're 80% in, you're like, at that point, let me just finish watching the video, which brings me to the second point, which is he's artificially adding a buffer. Okay, he's artificially adding a buffer. What I mean by that is in today's day and age, right, I'm sure as you know, like doom scrolling and all these different things, we've got about 3 seconds. You've got about 3 seconds to hook a lead before they are going to move on to the next video, okay? So what he's doing is he's artificially adding a buffer to that 3 seconds, because people will see that this timeline is moving so quickly that the video is almost done. It's like, okay, let me just give them like 2 more seconds or 4 more seconds or 10 more seconds. But what happens is now their play is that within that 10 to 20 seconds that they've given you, you will hook them enough to just finish the video. So it's actually very smart. I do like the use of artificial speed manipulation. Okay, going down the page, we have the testimonial section. So this is the testimonial section where you can see there's a testimonial video over here. Obviously, they've used a thumbnail that people will click on, and then you can see actual screenshots of case studies. Now, one thing about Hormozi that an acquisition, and again, the reason they're able to do this is because of the authority angle they have, is they don't need to post 100 videos and 100 screenshots, because he's already built his authority before you enter this funnel, right? Every video he sends out is adding to his layer of authority. You know, the fact that he sold Gym Launch, which by the way is one of the businesses we've worked with, for $40 million is on itself enough proof that he knows what he's doing clearly, right? So he doesn't need to put too much, whereas the usual business owner or the usual kind of funnel might have additional, you know, testimonials, might have up to 3, maybe more. You know, this could even be a slider where there's you can slide and see multiple testimonials, and then there might be a lot more screenshots scattered in there as well, just to add. There could even be maybe like a Trust Pilot review system with stars over here. Sorry, those are my versions of stars, you know, so that's over there. And then what you'll get in at the in-person workshop. Now, this is very interesting because I actually talked to someone who spoke to someone in acquisition directly, and he was doing their marketing for them, and he told them that the reason they have to say this very clearly and underline it is because they're actually people who will genuinely believe this is an online workshop, and they will, like, they've had people called in and asked, like, hey, is this online? Like, where's the link, the Zoom link? So a point of failure, or like a metric to know whether they have failed this funnel, is if they get people messaging saying where's the link. Like, that's something that they can actually measure as a metric of failure for this funnel, which is very interesting. Anyway, over here we have the process section. As you can see, it goes through the process. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, talk to the directors, go through the scaling framework, and then the tactical next steps that will happen. Again, more CTAs all over the place. Scrolling down, a bit more testimonials to kind of lock in that authority and that proof. And then we have the calendar section here, which is the opt-in section. Now, one thing that's interesting is they haven't done it where you click on the call to actions and then it takes you to a separate page or it pops up the calendar. It just scrolls you straight down to the calendar. Wherever you are, if you're at the top or the bottom, it'll scroll you right down to the calendar. The reason for this is 2 things. The first one is speed. If you have to have a pop-up or send someone to a separate calendar page, then that's going to add an additional 1 to 3 seconds in time, which is actually enough to get people out of your funnel, because it's like adding a layer of friction. And the second reason is just, again, keeping people within the funnel, so you're not distracting them and taking them anywhere else. Just keep everything in one place. Below that, if you do go below that, is the FAQ section. One thing I do like is all of them are already open. Now, you might think, oh, I'm OCD, I want everything to be shut, but there's actually, again, a reason to that. It actually limits the amount of clicks that's happening in this funnel. So if you look at this funnel, really the only time you're going to click anything is on the VSL, which is a click that they want you to make. A click to the call to action, which will scroll you down, and that's it. The FAQs, like, this would have been 1, 2, 3, 4 additional unnecessary clicks that, again, is adding friction. So they're even like keeping it open. It's like that's how deep they go in terms of the psychology. Everything is so intentional, right? They definitely didn't leave it open on purpose. And then they have the calendar where they schedule. I'm going to break down the actual calendar, calendar and the form and everything itself, because this is where the actual qualification happens to make sure that they're not getting tire kickers and time wasters coming for these workshops. They're getting people who they know they will be able to collect cash on the phone call as soon as they schedule a call. So why does this work? This page's job is not to convince cold strangers. It's to give already warm prospects the final nudge, and that's why it's very simple. It's very intentional. This page being overly complex would actually signal, desperation, or it might even kill. So let's move on to the form. Now, the form is actually intentional. I mentioned they're using an iClosed form. Now, the reason they use iClosed, it's clearly written over here, I closed. I guess they're not paying for the highest version of it to hide the branding. But the reason actually I closed is being used is, and you could use I closed, you could use Typeform, you can use any form out there, go high level. It's more about the practice rather than which tool you're using. It's about partial submission. Okay, what I mean by that is they start by, in this case, collecting your number and your name. Now, what happens is if I was to like draw a line over here, so you start by putting your name, your number and then your name, your details. What happens here is now your data is automatically sent to the CRM, okay? So your data is sent to the CRM automatically. They basically have you. Now, from this point onwards, you will either add to the data that they have of you in the CRM and book a call, or for whatever reason you decide not to book, they have your data, they can call you, and they can get the SDRs to try and figure out why you didn't schedule a call and qualify you and schedule you, or just disqualify you and forget about you and move on to the next person. Up until this point, they're collecting your data, and then they ask the other stuff. So another thing also psychologically, it's like you've already submitted your number, you've already submitted your name, right? At this point, you're deep in. Like, you're just going to finish the form. There's no point like delaying it or thinking twice about it. So you're going to give the email. They ask what your annual revenue is. This is where they're qualifying you. So they have like a list of different options. If you're doing less than $1 million, you're going to be disqualified. I'm just telling I tested it out. If you're doing less than $1 million, you get disqualified. If you're doing more than $1 million, then you will kind of progress to the point where you can actually schedule a call. Another question is, are you able to grow your business the next 90 days? That's like a yes, no. And then tickets of 5K, does that work for you? So even if I said I'm doing more than 5 million, sorry, even if I said, so if I said I'm doing more than $1 million and like 5 million, and I still said that no, 5K doesn't work, I'll be disqualified. So there's actually 2 criteria that they're looking for to qualify a lead. The most important one is the revenue, right? They only want to work with businesses who are doing more than $1 million a year, because this is actually a genuine constraint in a business. Like, founders who have scaled their business to $1 million a year typically find it very difficult to scale past that, because they are the point of friction, right? They're the failure point, the bottleneck, like whatever you want to call it. And they need to kind of fire themselves and build teams in-house to replace and delegate and all that stuff. That's what, I had to learn that the hard way when I was building GoFunnels as well. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is this, right? Tickets are 5K. Does that work for you? Actually, I would say this is the second thing, right? Are you able to travel or grow your business is second. And then obviously third one. So actually what you can see is that the questions they've asked are very relevant. They're not just putting filler dumb questions, right? So like, this has to make sense. Like, you have to be above, you have to be above $1 million in revenue, right? For this question to be good. Over here, you have to say yes. All right, it has to be a yes answer. And for this, it also has to be yes. Tickets of 5K, does that work for you? Yes. So if these 3 criteria are met, you will qualify. If for whatever reason these 3 criteria are not met, then you're going to disqualify you, okay? So what does that look like? If I was to choose let's just say I was less than $1 million, and then I press continue, I'm not actually going to be sent to the booking page. I'm going to be sent to a downsell page straight away. If I was qualified and I press continue, then I would be sent to a calendar page where I choose the date and again finish it off, and then I schedule that session in. So again, they're using I closed as the way to qualify. So that's the qualification gate. So the revenue, the travel, the budget. If you don't meet that criteria, then you are disqualified, and then they send you to the disqualification funnel, which is very interesting. And the reason I really like this actually is there's a lot of business owners that don't have some sort of disqualification step. And especially, I really don't like seeing this with newer businesses where they kind of alienize leads that are not ready to work with them, right? So for example, like asking a question, what's your revenue level? And if they have like 0 to 10K is the revenue level they want to disqualify, they're like have in brackets, like, just leave this funnel right now. Like, that's very stupid. Like, because you're alienating them, and in 2-3 months they could be above 10K a month and be a relevant qualified lead, but they're not going to want to work with you because you've left a bad taste in their mouth. So you want to kind of handle it very gently, very softly, because they're really going to feel like, think of it this way, right? They've already put the time and effort to fill this out and get excited to see what the steps are going to look like, and now you're disqualifying them. Like, it's going to be a bit of a punch to the face. So you really want to handle it in a way where it's encouraging and soft. So in this case, they're sending you to a downsell funnel or like a disqualification funnel. Now, it's a very simple funnel. Again, if you look at the psychology of the funnel, the hook is very short and straightforward because the heavy lifting is actually done with the VSL. So actually the VSL it's much larger. If you see, it's taking a lot more width and space. Big play button. And the VSL, because I watched the full video, another cool thing is it says 60 seconds, which is very important because think of it this way. Someone has just given you their time. They've watched the initial VSL, which was maybe 5 minutes. They filled out the form, everything. And then they're basically getting told they've been punched in the face and they've been told you're disqualified. You're not a good fit. The last thing they want to do is watch another 10-minute video because at that point they're fully out of it. But he's brought this video down to 60 seconds. It's like, oh, okay, fine, I can give 1 more minute of my time. So you press play and then you watch. This one didn't have any kind of manipulation, maybe because someone would have figured it out by then, or he just wants to keep it raw and real. So that could be the reason as well. But what he's doing here is his downsell is basically go join school for free. Join the school games and check out all the free resources you're going to get. You're going to get all these different resources. So this is something I really like is he's not alienating bad leads or kicking them out with nothing. He's basically giving them a chance to upskill themselves so that later on down the line, they can actually eventually become a qualified lead who will pay him 5K to join his workshop, which a lot of people actually don't do. Like if the lead's not a good fit, they just disqualify them to optimize for good leads, which is fine. But really you want to build a business where you are able to collect money or provide value to businesses across the revenue range. So you'll have businesses where you're like, who you have a cap, like 50K a month is the type of business you want to work with, and you're offering your flagship offers to them. But the ones who are less, you can still make money for them. You can still make money from them, and actually at least liquidate and bring your cost per acquisition and your cost per booking down as well. Okay, so once you're disqualified, so that's for people who are disqualified. Now, like I mentioned, the ones who are qualified, they will eventually go and schedule a call. Now, one cool thing about the call is, first of all, it's not like a Stripe checkout or anything like that. They're not getting to pay anything when you schedule. They're trying to schedule a call, and then what actually happens is someone's going to call you, and that is when they're going to collect the payment on the call, because they actually still want to do one more level of qualification to make sure you are a good fit to come into the workshop. What they're trying to do is they're trying to keep the bad apples away, because even if you are a good fit, maybe you're kind of person that, let's say let's say you don't like Hormozi and you're going to come there to sabotage things. That's going to leave a bad experience for the other 20 or 30 so people there. They're not going to want you, right? So they're not going to just take your money in that case. And then auto time zone. This is just very simple in terms of generic calendars, right? They show the times on other people's time, on your time zone, just to remove friction. So that's not a big deal. Okay, so you're qualified, you book in a time. What happens next? You get pushed into the thank you page. Now, the thank you page is arguably one of the most important pages, and that is because the goal for the thank you page is actually indoctrination, like I told you, right? And he indoctrinates quite a bit. So let's scroll down. Now, in terms of the structure of a thank you page, again, this is the hook section or the hero section, and that includes the hook, the video, and then we'll scroll down and go through what's there. Now, this is very interesting. Like if you notice, there wasn't actually steps or anything along the way. He's written steps over here to make it feel like it's a continuation. It's not the end. Because what happens is a lot of people book a call and then they dip. Like they don't even like give a second to let the thank you page load. They schedule and they're out of there, right? By doing it this way, he's basically said like this isn't the end. Like this is step 3. There could be more steps. You don't know. They could be. So it gets the person to stay and retain them, which is very, very smart. Your call is confirmed. Important, must watch, right? So having that there again is like you have to watch this in order to keep going and get you ready for the call. And then there's a video. Again, it's very raw, very real. I think it's just him like taking not a selfie, but like very simple video, unedited, of him talking about, like be on time, make sure you're prepared. Whatever it is, someone's going to call you and then they're going to collect the money. So that's there for them to watch. And then down over here, this is a really cool widget. This is actually why they use iClosed and why a lot of people do use iClosed, is because of this widget that you can embed onto the landing page, which kind of just gives them an idea, okay, this is the time, the where, and then they can add to the calendar. Now, the only annoying thing about iClosed is when you click add to calendar, it doesn't actually like accept the call. It just like adds it as an event in your calendar. So you don't actually... It's not the best for tracking on the business side, but anyway, it exists. It's a solution that's out there. And then it's quite simple. So yeah, why this indoctrination page works. Like I said, the thank you page, most people treat it as like a receipt, like, okay, booking successful. So the best thank you pages are the ones that indoctrinate, pre-sell, pre-close, get people ready, get people excited for the actual call. So when the call happens, whether it's a Zoom call, Google Meet, or a phone call, they got the credit card out, they're ready to pay upfront. So that's what happens next. Now you wait for the call and then you receive a WhatsApp. In this case, it was a WhatsApp or a SMS kind of flow. And here's the timeline very quickly of what that looks like. So minutes after booking, you get a WhatsApp from their closer. It's like, hey, this is closer from acquisition.com. Excited to speak with you about the workshop. What type of business do you own? So straight off the bat, straight off the cuff, they're qualifying. They're asking what type of business I own to make sure it's a good fit in terms of what I do and if they can actually help me. And then before the conversation happens, like when it's time for the booking, whatever days have elapsed, they'll ask if you have watched the video. If you haven't watched the video, and this is a very, very authority play that they do if you haven't watched the video, because I kind of was a bit naughty and didn't watch the video, is they're going to be like, okay, spend the next 5 minutes, here's the video, go watch it, and then come back and call me when you're done. I'll be right here. So it's like a very authority play where they make you feel like you're a school student that didn't do their homework and now you have to go to the corner and do it very quickly and come back. So it's kind of like a hard pill to swallow, but it's very effective for leads that like don't do it, because it shows that they're not messing around. So neither should you. And then obviously at that point, they will try and collect the cash and get that 5K and get you booked in. So yeah, I mean, that's what the breakdown of the entire funnel ecosystem looks like. So I guess a very important question is like, why 5K? Why did they choose 5K to be the entry point? And it acts as multiple things, right? One of the reasons being is it's actually a qualification filter, right? The 5K eliminates anyone who can't afford to invest in their business. So it's not about revenue. It's actually, if you think about it, if you're a business doing $1 million a month, 5K is not a very high ticket, to be honest, right? It's quite reasonable. If you're doing less and you find it too much, you're probably not a good fit anyway. So it is a qualification filter. And because it's a qualification filter, it allows the room quality to be better. So the people who do show up for the workshop, it's like high quality people in that room who are actually people who are willing to improve their business. And you do want to network with people like that in terms of the other people who will be there for the workshop. These are people you can network with and get ideas from, maybe even close your offer to them as well. The third thing is it's a sales call justifier, because the price is stated before the call. So the sales conversation shifts entirely. The closer isn't, overcoming objections. They're confirming if it's a good fit and then going for the close. So all the objection handling, all the, the framing, everything is done prior to the call, which is only something you can really do very well if you have that content engine and that authority you've built like he has. And that brings me to the fourth reason why it's at the 5K. It's the authority signal, right? So charging 5K per seat when you could fill rooms for free, it is a bit of a statement, right? Because he doesn't make money from being a guru, being like a coach, right? He does that stuff with acquisition.com and the investments they make. So it's kind of like, look, we don't need your money. We're doing you a favor by letting you in anyway. So it kind of inverts the typical seller-buy dynamic, where it's like, you're not paying 5K for me to teach you. You're paying 5K to get an insider view, an insider perspective of how we run our business and what we do. That's actually the really important shift, where a lot of people don't get that. And that brings me to my final point, number 5, which is the content flywheel enabler, right? So the free content builds the authority that justifies the price. The price funds the team that produces more content. Then the content attracts more leads who see the price as reasonable. It's a self-reinforcing loop. And if you're kind of to look at the actual flywheel that he's doing over here, you can see it's like free content, which creates authority. The authority plus getting people to join the lead magnet gives them free warm leads, which they then use to push people into the workshop. And when they get into the workshop, they accept the 5K price point, and that revenue funds more content. That revenue funds the investments they make in acquisition, which allows them to grow businesses, create more case studies, and use the metrics and case studies to create more content. And it's an ever kind of going loop. This is the flywheel, as we call it, that they have their acquisition. So another important thing I want to talk about is what everyone copies versus what actually converts. So when someone sees this, like yourself, you might think that the most important thing is actually, okay, the landing page layout, right? The psychology of the funnel, the calendars being used, the VSL and how it works, the FAQs being all open, like that might be the stuff you look at. Whereas what you need to actually look at is, I think everything comes back to one thing, which is the authority he's built. The reason why that funnel really works is the authority. So years of content building, but that's not all it is, right? Because if you're a business owner that doesn't have authority, it doesn't mean you can't do this, right? You can do everything else, right? So you can have a lead magnet that does a job. It captures the right leads. It qualifies the leads. It re-nurtures them in the back end with follow-up systems, with reactivation systems. It disqualifies leads that aren't a good fit. Building a strong thank you page that indoctrinates. These are all things that you can do and you can still get the results. What I'm trying to say is for the funnel to be more complete and to be more optimized and squeeze as much juice as you can, having that top of funnel issue addressed, like the content layer, the authority layer, that will only make things easier down the funnel. And there you go. So that's exactly the full breakdown of what the acquisition.com live workshop funnel looks like. Now, if you want to get your hands on this exact blueprint that I walked through in the entire video, go ahead and click the link below and it is all yours completely for free. It's going to be a page that will break down, first of all, the customer journey, and you can click on all the individual nodes and expand on everything and read all my findings, as well as some additional things that I didn't talk about in this video that many people miss out when they try to recreate such a funnel. So if you'd like that, again, completely for free, go ahead and click the link below to get access to it. All right, that's a wrap. I will see you in the next breakdown.